Good evening, all.
Good evening. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Hi, Shraddha.
Since everyone is present here, I think we will begin. Hello, everyone. Very good evening, good afternoon, good morning, and wherever you are, I welcome you to the third session of our flagship program, the Demystified Leaders Summit. We are so humbled to have you all with us throughout our journey. We promise you in every session, we will have interesting leaders and experts. At Demystified, we have been working to mobilize dialogue about rebuilding during COVID-19 and beyond. Massive policy efforts to contain the global COVID-19 pandemic continues. Countries are grappling to minimize the impact on the livelihoods of the citizens. The situation is worse in countries with large informal sectors and weak social protection. All these weeks, we have been talking about inclusion. In the first session, we had a very fruitful discussion on strategic support. In the second, we talked about sustainable livelihoods. Now, we take the conversation forward, and today our topic is defying odds towards an inclusive future. It is essential that we defy odds if we want to ensure inclusivity. Such odds are defied by change makers, exceptional leaders who are present with us today, and people who have compassion. So today we have our leaders and our speakers, Dr. Madan Sethi sir, who joined the Indian Foreign Services in 2006. He has served in various prestigious positions as the Consul General in many countries. Currently, he is the Consul General of India to the Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. Dr. Sethi is a medical graduate by academic qualification and has worked in different hospitals in state government in Odisha before joining the services. Welcome to our session, sir. We are honored to have you here. Next, we have Ms. Ishita Sharma. She is a feminist, actor, and Kathak dancer and an entrepreneur. She started her career as a child actor with shows like Shakalaka Boom Boom, Happy Go Lucky, and many others. In 2016, she started Mukkamar with a free self-defense class for just 5 girls in a slum area next to a beach in Mumbai. And today, Mukkamar has trained thousands of girls and is committed to bring a change. Welcome to our session, ma'am. We are proud to have you here.
Thank you.
Next, we have our moderator, Ms. Shraddha Pandey. She is the founder and CEO of Masika.in, India's first standardized health and wellness platform for women's reproductive and sexual health needs. At Masika, she has created women's trusted and empathetic health compassion needs, which helps them to navigate through their varying health issues throughout their life. It enables women to make informed and independent health decisions so that their health is not a hindrance in their personal and professional growth. We are delighted to have you here now and welcome to our session.
Thank you so much, Shonal. I'm excited to be here as well.
So before we hear from our speakers, we want to know from you, our attendees, our participants, what are your ideas? What do you think of health and safety? Here we have a poll. Please vote. While the poll is on and we begin with our session, I'll just quickly introduce you, as I wanted to do, a quick brief about the format for today's session. So, first we will have an introduction to our participants, which we did. And now we will have a speaker session where I will ask each and every one of our speakers and a moderator a question, which will be followed by moderation by Shraddha. My request to all participants, please type your questions in the Q&A section at the end, while it is the section 2, where we take questions from our participants. So let us start with the session. I guess the poll is has ended. Let us see. Okay, it is still in progress. Let's just wait for a few more minutes, then we can have an answer for the question that what do you think of health and safety, whether it is a skill set or a mindset? All right. So, here we have the results. And what do people think of health and safety? Some say that it is a skill set, about 44% of our participants, and some say that it's a mindset. Now, it is quite a tussle because we hope for a clear answer, but since here we have it here, we will be proceeding with our session, and I'm sure our leaders will be able to get all these answers cleared with their expertise. So let us begin with our session. The first question I have is for, I'll just stop sharing. All right. So the first question we have is for Mr. Madan, sir. Sir, recently Vietnam saw a surge in the number of COVID cases. Our thoughts and prayers are with the families and people who are directly and indirectly impacted by the pandemic over the globe. And keeping in mind our topic for the day, you are a doctor yourself and you understand more than anyone else the role of doctors and healthcare professionals during the pandemic. And according to statistics, there were more than 60% of healthcare professionals who were women, and the same is true for Vietnam. We would like to know the role of women during COVID in Vietnam. What lessons can we learn from them? Sir, if you could give some insights on the point.
Yeah, thanks, Sonal. I think thanks, my co-panelist, and thanks to the participants also today. Yeah, Vietnam is an interesting story, definitely. And I must tell you, I'm here almost for 1 year. But first thing which surprised me was that it's a country which is developing just next to India in a with a quick speed. I can tell you. I'm just adding another word to speed, and I was quite surprised by the infrastructure, by the developments in almost all sectors, whether it is education, whether it is healthcare, whether it is women's participation in the across all kinds of job. Okay, and if you know, I think last year in 2020, when this pandemic happened, Vietnam was one country apart from New Zealand and Taiwan who had managed the infection very well. If I'm not wrong, perhaps not a single life was lost in Vietnam. Just numbers were very few hundreds. But unfortunately, this year, the infection came here, it spread out through the all the provinces of Vietnam. Now almost 63 provinces are affected. And as we all know from India, we had seen last year also, this year in April, May and June, this pandemic has a disproportionate impact on people who are from the marginal section, although it affects the rich and the affluent also, no doubt. But Vietnam, what it has done in the last 10 years, 2011 onwards, they have developed their healthcare system very nicely, very strong educational system. And you'll be surprised, more than 98% of the population is literate. And it is a country where 45% of the population is female. And if you see their participation in work or job, whether casual labor, whether temporary job or permanent job, it's more than 55%, the women's. And I saw most of the women, they're quite aware of the things which are happening around them. This is a country, even having a 96 million population, have more than 150 million smartphones. Just imagine. Perhaps the country which is having maximum content for user in Asia Pacific region. Okay, so it had affected, but what I saw, some of the factors. First thing is that the very strong community bonding between people and people, the very strong respect between male and female in the family itself, and also the attitude of generosity. I saw in the last 3 or 4 months when people suffered, there are some restrictions on the road, restrictions to get food items, restriction to go. People came forward. And I was surprised that photographs came in the newspaper of a young woman in some parts of Vietnam, in the center of Vietnam, keeping a trolley just outside of her house and keeping all the food items for zero dong. Zero dong means it is the cost, nature of the currency here, the name of the currency. You don't have to pay, you just pick up your whatever you want actually. In small polythene packets, they kept it. In Ho Chi Minh City also, all these kind of shops where you can pick up the food, pick up the items. And mostly, very surprisingly, very mostly by the females who came forward to join these activities for all. Although the male people, they did not also, they also supported in a big way, and the government also supported in a big way. So what I saw, the elasticity of the community, the elasticity of the society, and a kind of cohesiveness in the thoughts process and in the action points from the whole community. Now we have lost more than 15,000 lives because we know this disease is a little difficult disease. No treatment has been still yet found of, and we are going by what the other countries have done. But nature of number of recoveries and number of infections, nature of recoveries are going up, infections are going down, and people are quite careful. They understand the implication. And here, I think in the front is the women, definitely, the male section of the society, and definitely the government, and some of the NGOs who are working here, and also some of the consulates and embassies who have come forward to help this country. Thank you, Sonal. Thanks.
Awesome, sir. I mean, the one thing that I like while you were talking about the empowerment of, Vietnamese women, the one thing that I could actually take out is, there is a very, like you said, is a very cohesive structure. There are multiple stakeholders involved in ensuring that a women is, the women in Vietnam are able to thrive properly. Right, but so what would you say, we Indians can take out of that structure, that behavioral, shift, like you said, men equally respect women, the workforce involvement of women is more than, 60% in Vietnam, almost 100% of the women are somehow employed, right? So it would have taken multiple stakeholders to come together and make that possible for women in Vietnam, right? I understand that ours is a very densely populated country. It would take a little more time to make that happen. But what would you say would be the one single step that all of us can take together collectively to make that happen in our country? To create that kind of equal platform for women in our country.
No, I think you're quite correct. Here in Vietnam's history, women had a big role, not only during the independence struggle, but also during the fight against the French colonial occupation. And that time, as I understand, the women and the children, they used to stay at home, and the male people, they used to go to the trench to fight with the Americans or the French. But the best part is that from not that angle, the leaders of the country, they have repeatedly praised the contribution of the women for this society. What Vietnam is today, there is a feeling that it is the both contribution of 50% by male people, 50% by sacrifice made by the people. So it is a society which is very, very cohesive, very, very coherent, and they have few priorities, but that priorities both have the same. They both have the same stakeholders. I can tell you. And India, we know, as you told very clearly, we are a large society. We are a little bit driven by caste, class, religion, street. I can tell you, like people give, okay, you are from this parts of Mumbai, you are from this parts of Mumbai. So you try to make a little ghettos of our own. We are different from others. Well, we are not actually. We are not really, because we all feel happy when our athletes get the prize or award in the Olympic games. We feel bad when something tries to enter into our security system. But somewhere there is a missing link. Somewhere there is a missing link. Somewhere there is not emphasis too much at different levels that we all are one. If we can contribute little more, then I think not only the economy, all other sector will develop like anything. So I was just reading an article by UN. The fact is that they have written that the women's mostly they are getting into low-paid jobs. Okay, whether it is domestic work or whether it is into agricultural work or maybe unskilled labor. If the woman can be given the chance to work at the same level like his counterpart, perhaps the economy will get multi-billions addition actually. So
Yeah, that's $700 billion to be precise by
yeah,
2025.
yeah,
If India provides gender equality to women. So
yeah.
yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am, for such an insightful discussion. I think we have a lot to learn and we have a lot to engrave over the years. And I think we will now proceed. So thank you so much. And my next question is for Ishita, ma'am. Ma'am, since I was 12 years old, when I was 12 years old, the Nirbhaya gang rape case had happened. And that incident had a very long term impact on any girl in the country at that point. And I'm sure that all the participants have the memory fresh in their mind even today. The circumstances back in those days when the news was everywhere and it had shattered everyone, and that actually inspired me to learn karate at that moment. I remember I was in seventh grade, and the next day I came to school. I told my karate sir, I have to learn karate, and eventually I went on to achieve a bronze in the national championship. And now, fast forward to 2020, we have all heard so much about domestic violence, and while pandemic has been making its own bad news, this was equally disturbing. If every girl learns how to defend herself, India would be a different place altogether. So I'm so proud to see that Mukkamad is engaged in training self-defense. And can you share with us journeys of such girls whom you have trained in self-defense that would be inspiring to all our attendees present?
Yes, thank you, Shonal. And thank you for the opportunity to be part of this panel. And congratulations on really, not being limited by your physical body, but expanding it with any skill that will help you stay safe. So there are so many stories about Mukamar girls, but a few things in particular are really important because, like you mentioned, you went to a karate class, and karate is one of the martial art forms, and there are hundreds of martial art forms, and unfortunately a lot of them keep competing against one another, saying that no, Kali is better for self-defense, karate is better for self-defense. But it's not in the martial art that the self-defense happens. It's the coach who will tell you how to use it in real life, because karate is a sport, right? So typically the training for any sport happens in a way that here's your opponent and this is what you're going to do, but you're not expected to hurt them. So it's very important that self-defense is identified as not a sport, not a martial art, but a life skill, because it's not a martial art. It's much more. It's the belief of knowing that the skill that you have learned, you have the right to be able to use it for your safety. And which is something I have personally worked with a lot of martial artists, black belts, national level medalists, who have frozen in the face of danger, simply because their sir told them how to work with an opponent, but not with an attacker, right? So I think that mindset is super important. And in fact, I'd like to highlight the background that I have used today, because that is exactly what we teach. It's a scene from the Mahabharata. It's the scene where Sita has been put in a Lakshman Rekha. And I think it's very, it represents what we are as a country, where Sita Maiya is Sita Maiya and she's put on a pedestal, but yet in the face of danger, she is asked to stay within the Lakshman Rekha, or else something bad will happen. And what we essentially do in Mukamar is give girls the mindset and the physical skills to be able to at least expand or cross that Lakshman Rekha, or just erase it. Just cross it and nothing is going to happen, because we don't want these two options of staying within the Rekha or going out and getting violated. We want a third option, which is to be able to go out and still be safe. As I say this, I remember one instance. It's a bit of a gray area, because we are absolutely non-violent and we promote the use of mental and verbal self-defense in order to save oneself, because people on the street don't fight fair. But I feel a lot of pride in speaking about this one instance where one of our trainers came back one day and said, Miss, what happened in class today? I said, Kya hua batao? So there was one little girl in the 6th or 7th standard, and she had a birthday party at home, and all her school friends were there. So as she cut the cake, everyone left, and this one boy stayed inside the room. Okay. And he went on to touch her inappropriately several times, and she told him, mat kar, mat kar. Anyway, the story came to us the next day, where this student comes out and she says, teacher ko bulao, principal ko bulao. She called everyone, and then she pulled out the boy and she said, tera haath dikha. And his hand had a cut. Okay. So she said, bata abhi kya hua, kya kiya? So the boy was just quiet. Then she told the principal and the teacher and the boy कि कल ये मेरे घर पे आया था और मैंने इसको बोला कि तू मुझे टच मत कर. इसने मुझे ब्रेस्ट पे टच किया. मैंने इसको बोला ब्रेस्ट पे टच मत कर, तो उसने वापस किया. फिर उसने धक्का मारा, तो मैंने उसको बोला कि वापस करेगा तो ये चाकू हाथ में इससे काट दूंगी. फिर उसने वापस किया तो मैंने इसको हाथ पे काटा, फिर ये भाग गया. So although it didn't need to happen and there could have been a better way, but I am super glad for several things. One, to know that she could say a word like breast, because women are told ki if anything happens, if somebody pinches us on the butt, we are expected to say उसने गलत किया, थोड़ा बदतमीजी किया. It's not बदतमीजी, it's a crime. Why don't we call it out? So one of the things that we teach is to be able to say, मेरे butt पे pinch किया, मेरे breast को touch किया, या fondle किया, या grope किया, whatever it is, you have to speak about it without carrying shame. And this girl did that, so I was just very glad. And interestingly, the trainers asked us that, Miss, हमको जेल हो जाएगी क्या ये सिखाने के लिए? I was like, nahi, if things go to court, then basically the use of reasonable force is self-defense. And if somebody doesn't back off, what do you do? It was not with an intention to hurt. It was with an intention of safeguarding oneself. But I'm very proud of it.
Exactly. I mean, Ishita, the way like you said, it's about the mindset. It's about cultivating that mindset that, this is not, it's not shameful to talk about my safety. It's not shameful to take action to keep myself safe, because, while although at Masika, we deal with, women's health on a daily basis, but it would be very surprising for all of you to, to know this, that a lot of women associate their health with shame, right? Because there are so many social constructs built around a woman's health. There are so many social stigmas and taboos attached with normal physiology of women, that they are not able to come out and even take right steps for, addressing their health, right? So taking right steps to keep themselves safe is, again, it's a huge deal for them, right? So I mean, and I actually want to ask you this question, because mindset shift does not begin within a person, right? It has to involve a lot of stakeholders, where they create that kind of inclusive environment for women to change her mindset. For example, at Masika, I keep hearing this a lot from women, that itna sara responsibilities hai, ghar bhi chalana hai, personal life bhi hai, aur naukri pe bhi jana hai, आप बताओ कि कैसे हम healthy रहे, right? So the attitude is not to stay healthy. The attitude is all about, my health is not important. There are so many responsibilities that I have to take care of. So, I'm not bothered about my health, right? Women don't realize that health and safety is the very asset that they require to survive in the very structure that is not designed to fit them. Right. So, how do you begin that mindset shift in the stakeholders, like parents and the schools that are involved, to make them understand that this is not just a separate physical education class. It's actually a life skill that your child needs, right? So, my question is just that, how do you begin that behavioral shift, with the stakeholders?
It's a very long and complicated question that you have asked. So first off, you said health is associated with shame in women. It's very, very true. In fact, we were hiring a young girl who who kept making excuses as to why she could not join, and after a very long time she cried and she told me that actually मैं ना बहुत बीमार रहती हूँ, तो इसके लिए मैं जॉब नहीं कर पाऊंगी. But the reason why she could not do that is because even in today's day and age, I have a friend who's very well educated, and when people came to see her for an arranged marriage, they talk things like कि बीमार कितना होती हो, अच्छा तो जरा बैक पे दिखाओ कुछ दाग धब्बे तो नहीं है, do you have any scars, अच्छा just lift up your sleeve and let us see. Even till today, educated people talk like that. So it's just a matter of the fact that for us, women are objects for decoration. That's the mindset of this society, unfortunately. Until we begin to acknowledge that, we will not be able to fight it. So as for shame, that is what I have observed. And what you said, that people around women need to be sensitized, I fully agree with you. I think we have created this world and we can change it. And by we, I mean all of us, right? It's not a particular gender's problem. It is everybody's problem because we all bear the brunt of it, However, I feel very Gandhian in my philosophies. So I feel that change begins from you. And so it's very important, and which is why we work with children, because children have low resistance to change. So if we work with adolescents, then it's just far easier for the change to percolate to the entire family. And a few of the things that we observed, even in the physical classes, when we used to do the classes, we tell children all kinds of things like helpline numbers, physical activities, etc. So in one of the parent-teacher meetings, we came back and the teacher said, "अरे आपने बच्चों का helpline बताया, मम्मियों का भी बताओ." I said, "आपको कैसे पता क्या सिखाया?" So she got up, okay, and along with another parent, she showed us the self-defense techniques that we had taught to the child. Like she demonstrated exactly what we had taught to the child. So these are the kind of things that have happened repeatedly. Even during the pandemic, we kept the online sessions through Zoom. And because these are families which typically have only one device and a family of say 7 to 8 on a minimum, and typically girls have 4 to 5 girl siblings also. So on one screen, we are usually seeing more than 2 to 3 girls, and a lot of the screens have the mothers in their saris and all. They'll do proper squat, plank, whatever it is that they can do, they do.
Wow.
Which is phenomenal. And a lot of times you can see the father sitting in the corner, looking at what is happening, and then saying, "आप हमारी बेटी को ये सिखाते हो, हमको समझता है, exercise तो is just one part of it, but आप क्या सिखा रहे हो, उसको पैरों पे खड़े होना सिखा रहे हो, वो हमको पता है." And whereas in the school time, when we used to go into the school, the parents are so busy. A lot of times they don't have the opportunity to ask their children, what is happening? What are you learning in school? Bare minimum communication is not happening. So in one way, this whole digital setup has worked as quite a boon for this mindset to get into the homes of people as opposed to staying in a school with a child.
Exactly. I mean, I fully agree with this. Like, even with the, like, when we started Masika, it happened right in this middle of the pandemic. Right. And then like our entire idea was to help women to, like, address their health issues and conditions at the right time without, getting panic and without, and like not getting caught into all the navigational challenges in the existing healthcare ecosystem. Right. So I think virtual care for us, like, virtual self-care rather has helped a lot of women to take charge of their life, because otherwise, if they had to go to a hospital, they would depend on a spouse, they would depend on a, on a family member for them to come along with them and go to the hospital. Right. So in some manner, taking like, utilizing technology and putting it into the hands of young girls and young women is actually changing the landscape, in the sense that, it's giving them more like, independence in terms of health, in terms of safety. It is giving them more decision making options, right? Like, because otherwise, I remember whenever I am sick, it's either my my friend or my father or my brother, like, while I was young, who would accompany me to the hospital, right? And I would never know, like, what is the correct healthcare step that I should be taking, what are the correct steps to be healthy, growing up, and then, suffering from all those conditions firsthand, and then not able to find the right solution. I was like, okay, like, how do I take charge of this, right? So anyway, the whole point being that, I had to navigate through the entire situation health wise, and that's what motivated me to, like, ensure that women don't have to suffer when it comes to addressing their health on right time. And it cannot happen if you don't put technology in their hands, right? So my next question is actually for Dr. Sethi. Like, he's a doctor himself, and so one of the things that I have constantly like, experienced while helping my clients, like helping users at Masika, is that they are not willing to go and meet the doctors, because they get so much judgment. They're not asked the right questions, and they're scolded frequently, right? So their behavior towards involving healthcare providers becomes like, need to need basis, right? Like, if they really have to go, they will go there. Otherwise, they really avoid and deploy a lot of fad remedies, home remedies, things like that, right? And it becomes really difficult for us to then sensitize them that, you need to involve the right like stakeholder at the right time. So like, why do you think in our country specifically, we have created a healthcare system that continuously shames women for their health. Like, for example, I'll share a story with you. I had one of my clients had come, and she wanted to address her health condition. She was suffering from multiple chronic issues, and she told me that I don't want to go through any doctor because I get scolded a lot, and I am sexually active, but all the time they ask me that if I am married, but they don't ask me if I'm sexually active. And she was facing issues in her sexual health, right? And then she was like, when I googled for female sexologists, there are no female sexologists, just for like one or two, right? So she practically did not have any avenue and go and address a very private aspect of her health, right? So, and so there is this very evident aversion among women to not go and see a healthcare provider because of the the judgment that they get, because of the lack of privacy focused manner the entire diagnosis is done, right? So I mean, I want to understand, like, why is it there? Like, healthcare providers in the first place should be the people who should be creating that inclusive environment for women to come and address their health issues, right? But we don't see that a lot in our country.
No, I think, Shraddha, you put up the right question actually, because we also understand that when you go to a doctor who is a service provider, so he feels that he has the control over your not only your body, also over your mind also, and then he speaks what he wants, and that is a very unfortunate development, no doubt. The difficulty is that we must and should have actually sensitization programs, sensitization of topics to the children from the start itself, so that when I'm going to tell someone, if I am a doctor, if somebody is coming to me, I should not be over judgmental. I have no right. She has come for an issue. I have to just diagnose it. If some questions are needed for that issue, then I'll ask her, whether it is private questions or not, may not be related to privacy. But you cannot go over the board actually. And that, unfortunately, in India, what happens, because most of our doctors, although it's not an official statement, because I myself have gone through the same age of 5 or 6 years of study, we don't open ourselves for more and more socialization. If you go for more and more socialization, more and more talks, then what happens? Your negative prejudice, stereotypes, or your masculinity, whatever way we behave, it will go down actually. We don't do that. And everything we used to have stereotypes. Oh, I got a gal, maybe she will be like me. I got a boy, perhaps he's going to do some heroic work. So everywhere there is a attachment of some conventional, you can tell it, attitude to everything actually. So when a doctor feels that, oh, now the lady has come, let me try to ask some questions which may be unconventional to her, which will be totally uncomfortable to her, but he will not feel that whether my wife will be in that place, whether she will be okay or not. Even he himself will also goes with his wife, whether it will be okay or not. So what happens somewhere, we are missing the link actually. Link is that how much we can become sociable, how much we'll respect others' feelings also, because I'm sure when a person goes, whatever he talks to doctor, along with him, on his face, on his body, his gestures, everything tell the story, what I'm happening, whether pain is happening, whether it is in any body parts actually. I myself have gone through this type of case when I joined foreign service actually. So and this, frankly, I think we have to sensitize doctors in a big way, because you see, society is made up of different elements, whether it is a politician, whether it's a doctor, whether engineers, whether bureaucrats. We all have our opinions, no doubt, but whether our opinions are valid, whether our opinions the other side is taking in a positive way or not, that also you have to understand. We should not be judgmental. We should not that we are doing a charity kind of things. No, it is our work as a doctor, but we must also see where is the line it.
Exactly.
Thanks,
Because
sir.
I ask this, I say this because for any women to to feel that she needs to take charge of her health and she needs to take charge of her safety, she needs to feel like that it is required for her, like it's a life skill set that she's missing out on, like. And that will not happen, like if again, like if there are like the stakeholders are not sensitized, it could be parents, it could be spouse, it could be healthcare systems, it could be workplace environment, everybody. That is why we need to create a environment of inclusivity, and it has to happen at a very primary level, which is at the, at a school level, where children, both girls and boys alike, are being taught what is safety mindset, what is health mindset, what is investment mindset, the kind of skill sets that are actually required to live a thriving life, right? Currently, this is, it's not being done, but I'm sure, organizations like Mukamar are already doing, making those strides in terms of self-defense for women. And we have started our initiatives to, to help children take charge of their health with the help of the schools and parents. And, there are many policies, like educational changes that we are seeing in the ecosystem. So I know that, we'll eventually get there, right? So I guess the only thing what I understand here, like what I can actually take from all the conversation discussions that we are doing, is that there is a very strong need of a very cohesive coalition, right? Because businesses, NGOs, and governments need to come together. They need to join hands together. They need to create a cohesive, programs for both, like, young children, for young women, for women at different, during their different life cycle, right? And that gives a proper, what do I say, proper platform to address their health and safety as a whole, like not as a separate something that they need to learn, right? It should be a part of them growing up, right? And like somebody asked a question, and I think Ishita can answer this very, very well. Ishita, the question is, like, do you think teaching only girl is enough to tackle issues? Isn't it high time that we create an environment where boys are also included in the session, where values are inculcated in them and they can learn too?
Yeah, I read that question. It's a very typical question that comes to us often. If you allow, I'd like to take that in like 3 minutes. Before that, I'd like to share a little bit about this thing that you said. I have two different point of views about what you said about healthcare and how this whole thing of are you sexually active and things like that are there. I think that the two contradictory things that I've observed is that a lot of times doctors are sensitized. It's just that the people are not, If you ask a woman, are you sexually active? She might just be, what kind of a question is that? Exactly. Can't you see I'm my husband, So it's a very chicken and egg situation for a lot of people. For example, menstrual hygiene, one of the biggest issues in India. 23 million girls drop out of school every year because of menstrual hygiene issues. It's quite a sad number. Yes. It's a very, very large number. And so because we work with adolescent girls, we could not avoid that topic. So we actually have a very, very large module on menstrual hygiene. And the need for it is that we work with an equal gender ratio in trainers. So each class is trained by one male and one female instructor who demonstrate an ideal equitable behavior between two people of the opposite sex in an egalitarian world. So, where we have strict instructions to our male trainers to say, may I say something in the middle? Because it is a very well researched statistic that men interrupt women a lot more than women interrupt men. And that's what people learn. So we create these kind of model behaviors with our trainers. And one of the things that consistently happened in class, where we taught all the trainers about menstrual hygiene, how to create that conversation, and yet there were girls who would call up and say, Didi, aap jaldi se aao. One day I got a call saying, Didi, aap jaldi se aao, bahut badi problem hai, this, that. And I was like, what happened? I rushed to that school. Then later I realized this girl is standing with 3 other girls outside and saying ki hum kuch nahi kar sakte didi, and she's crying. And I said, what happened? She said, didi, problem hai. Kya problem hai? Didi, I said, periods hai kya? So she said, nahi didi, hone wala hai. I said, okay, so what was the big problem? Her problem was that she might get a stain if she exercises, and she was not prepared for it. I was like, अच्छा इसमें इतनी कौन सी बिग डील हो गई? तू खेलती है, नीचे गिरती है, कपड़े गंदे होते हैं, so like what is the big deal? नहीं दीदी, सब हंसेंगे. So सबको हंसाना बुरी बात है कि अच्छी बात है? ऐसा, अच्छा बुरी बात तो नहीं है, ऐसे तो हंसेंगे तो तू भी साथ में हंसना. She said, oh, is it? I said, yeah, now go and tell your teacher that you have periods. So, but a lot of the PT teachers who we spoke to also mentioned that they keep saying problem wale jo ladkiyan hai wo side mein aa jao. If you keep addressing something as a problem, how is the child going to learn anything? And then they also come back to us and say that hum isliye bolte hain because अगर हम बोलेंगे कि पीरियड्स है, मेंसेस है, एमसी है, तो वो फिर ऐसे शर्माएंगे कि वो हो सर ने क्या बोल दिया. Now the counter point of view I had to this was that either of the situations, right, whether it is the doctor or the teacher or whether it is a child, both of them have an equal amount of power to change the dynamics, right? So the teacher or the doctor can also say कि अच्छा चलो आज मैं आपको बताती हूँ ये कोई बुरी बात नहीं है, right? A 2-minute conversation will sort it out for life. Same for the person on the other side. However, with children, yes, we are currently, since last year, we've been training all 315 PT teachers in the BMC, which is a municipal corporation, which will give us, if we are able to pull this off in a really nice manner, 50,000 girls in BMC will get access to a quality training through their physical educators. So the second part that is a good solution is to mandate certain things in terms of policy. For example, we told the teachers that consent needs to be a mandate. So you're in a physical education classroom and typically it just so happens the physical educator would say ki kaisa kar rahi hai? And that behavior allows for other people who may not have a clean intention to put it in the same garb and violate children. And there have been instances, right? So how do you mandate consent? How do you put that on paper? Because a lot of these things we spoke to the teachers and we said that जब बच्चे 6th 7th में आ जाते हैं, आप फिजिकल टीचर हो तो आप बॉडी पार्ट्स तो सिखाओगे ना, तो आपको पूछना चाहिए कि यूटेरस क्या होता है, वेजाइना क्या होता है, बच्चा कैसे होता है. You can teach. So all they said was हम comfortable है मैडम, आप हमारे सर से बात करके पेपर पे लिखवा के दे दीजिए कि ये हमको करना है, हम कर देंगे, right? So same for doctors, police academy. Today there are a lot of people who are training people in the police academy, where if they are going to speak to stakeholders on the outside, you may as well put it in the training, right? So we are also speaking to people who are doing the BP Ed and MP Ed programs, that when the physical educator or any educator passes out, why is it not in their curriculum what an equitable classroom looks like? Why is it not a priority of the people who are running these institutions? Because that's where change can actually happen. And yeah, I skipped the question about inclusion. I had actually replied to one of these questions asking how do you think we can do that? For us, it's what we have seen again. Very simple story. So the first school we started in 2017, we were training 150 girls and 150 boys. And very strange things happened. So first day of class, we made 6 separate lines, 3 for boys and 3 for girls. The boys started punching very aggressively. The girls started looking at the boys and thinking that ये तो अच्छा कर रहे हैं, ये क्लास इन लोग के लिए हमारे लिए नहीं है. So उल्टा they started doing very slowly. Then we thought that we'll put the girls ahead so they feel prioritized and put the boys behind them. Now the girls stopped exercising because they felt that the boys were looking at them. Then we put them facing with the backs facing each other. Okay, the girls started doing a little better, but now they were worried while bending that their kurta is coming up. A lot of 6th standard girls who we saw in the presence of boys, jump like this. And in 6th standard, they don't have breasts, but they are so tuned into the fact that, their breasts will hop or whatever, that they just don't want to do it. And when we removed the boys, we thought, okay, we'll keep 2 trainers, we'll separate them a little bit. Then phenomenally, the girls started doing a lot better than before. So then we read and we realized that interventions that are designed for girls have a much better impact when you do a gender separation. However, after that, we started doing that with the boys as well. where we used to tell them कि अच्छा तुमको करना है तो side में line बना लो. And in a lot of our surveys and reviews, we found out that girls who were trained with us, whether in the presence or absence of boys, had better friendships with boys. And boys did not misbehave with them because the boys got a simple message that earlier when the boys, and the problem can happen both ways, okay? I'm not putting the blame on girls or boys, but a lot of times girls tend to say if they are playing with boys, isne mara, ye to aisa karta hai, you know, and then the boys are like, hum to khel rahe the, tujhe lag gayi. And but later when the girl is a little more powerful, more self-confident, and knows how to deter such behavior, boys tend to be better friends with them and say ki acha hi isse panga mat lo, ye to dost hai hamari. So without spending a rupee on boys training, we were able to modify boys behavior by just training the girls. So which is why we focus our attention on girls.
Wow, awesome. Like, and we have like this another question, and because, you know, we are also getting close to the, to our time to close the conversation. So I'll take this one where, the question says, okay, do you think gender and health should be taught at school to create inclusive environment right from correct age? I think gender and health before, you start teaching it at school, you have to start teaching the kids right at home. Right, you cannot wait for parents or a third party, a third stakeholder to begin that journey for your child. It has to happen right from your household. It has to happen, gender, safety, investment, whatever these mindsets are, they need to start. You have to start creating that impact, that change for your child early on in their childhood. Right, if you keep the if you raise them to believe that without their health they cannot progress or thrive properly, without having a safety first mindset, having that kind of health first mindset, or they cannot be successful, or let's not exactly be successful, or properly thrive. I mean, that would set a right platform for for children to cultivate that kind of mindset before they step into the school. Because see, Indian education system will take a long way to to change itself. Even today, even in 2021, there are issues with teaching children about about their anatomy, right, about their hormones, about the different system of about their body parts, right, speaking about genitals, right. This kind of conversation is still not very comfortably done, right. If it is being done, there are kids who snigger when at the mention of menstruation, at the mention of breasts or vagina, right. There are kids who would snigger at the mention of penis, or at the mention of testicles. So this kind of sniggering, this kind of not taking the entire sensitization or education seriously happens because we have not created that kind of environment for our kids to take it as something which is normal. Right, they take it something, this is like, okay, oh my god, ye bola, oh my god, iske bare mein baat kiya. This is like, no, you don't have to talk about this, like a taboo thing. Or you don't have to say breast or genitals because, oh my god, right, like it has to be normalized. And it can that change in mindset, it will not begin in the school, it will begin right at the in the home first. Because in the school, your child may or may not get that chance to be sensitized properly, but you can ensure that within your household, that your child is being sensitized at every step, whether it be a girl or a boy, at every step, about how a girl's physiology is different, and how her menstrual cycle affects her day-to-day functioning, affects her monthly functionings, affect her the way the things, the way she functions on a daily basis, right. And it has to be done in a very normal, like in a very normalized manner. It can, right. So I think before it happens in the school, that that inclusive environment needs to be created in the home first, right. And we have another one more question where I think Ishita, yeah.
Before we take the questions, maybe we can conduct the poll to see how the participants have been feeling. So we'll just have a poll, and while the poll is on, we can also do the questions. I think that's
Sure.
right.
Awesome, that would be great.
Okay, so I think the poll is coming up. Yes, ma'am, you can continue.
All right. So, there is this another question where, the question says, how can women change the patriarchal prevalence that they see inside their own homes? Right. So I think I would like Ishita to talk about this first, because we had a very interesting conversation about it yesterday somewhere on the line. So Ishita, why don't you take this question?
Thank you, Shraddha. First, I'd like to share another little incident about the previous question, which I did not answer yet. There was in another school, we were training both boys and girls, and the boys were extremely naughty. We had to change 3 to 4 instructors, and after that, the instructors just came to me and they were like, "Aap jao wahan pe, aap, you have no idea what we are dealing with. These boys are a complete menace." Okay. And I went to that school, and later I also found out that the teachers were struggling with the boys, and half of the boys had they'd done a psychometric testing on the boys because they were absolutely incontrollable, and found that a lot of them had criminal tendencies when they grew up. And you know what the boys said to me? I said, "तुम क्यों ऐसे करते हो? सब सीख रहे हैं, सब सुरक्षा के लिए, हम सब friends हैं, आप ऐसे क्यों करते हो?" You know, I kept asking, and finally, I don't know what is the profanity filter here, but this boy said to me, "Didi, अगर ऐसा सब नहीं करेगा," and he used a bad word, "ऐसा सब नहीं करेगा तो सलमान खान कैसा बनेगा?" And he was very serious. He was not joking. So I think the question is what to teach the boys. Maybe self-defense, or maybe our exact curriculum is not essentially designed to be able to teach boys how to behave. But I think when social structures change, a lot changes for boys, because they're children. They're just modeling what they are learning otherwise. And about the other question, I would like to ask the person who has written this question why it is framed this way. How can women change the patriarchal prevalence that they see inside their own homes? Why are men not seeing it? Are children not seeing it? Or do they not have the power to change? Are they bystanders? That's my answer.
Yeah, that's why I wanted Ishita to answer that question.
We need to change the question. That's what we need to change.
Exactly. I mean, I think, like like you said, like having a Gandhian approach to what, like you do with Mukkamar, change begins with us, right? And the one step that we can take, and like in terms of, I'll say in terms of health later, but one step that we all can change to ensure there is a change, a positive change being done for at least and I'm going to specifically say women here. So, at least for the women in our families, around us, in our networks, is that to, to change that kind of mindset in ourselves, like, to stop shaming women because of the certain health conditions, stop shaming women, creating that kind of pressured environment where, she's being judged. There are so many elements to changing, for creating that inclusive environment, right? And the one thing that we can start doing is to accepting that women's life is very complex and messy. That please take it from me, there is no one single answer as to what can empower women. There is no one single solution to it. There are so many things that need to be done. There are so many things that need to be taken care of in ensuring that happens for women. And the only thing, and if there are men, I'm sure men are here in the conversation hearing me out, that the one thing that you can start doing is to start observing how women feel uncomfortable. Where are they feeling uncomfortable? Start asking them questions, not the uncomfortable ones, but if you feel that there are some questions that you would like to help women to take charge upon. So you have to ensure in letting them know that that they can come and speak with you, right? It could be about their safety, it could be about their uncomfortability into certain situations, it could be about their own health, right? Ensuring that you have a safe and judgment free space for them to open up, to talk about, is the first step that you can actually immediately start taking, immediately start doing, right? And I think this is what I I mean, I have so much to talk about. We should like have this kind of sessions on a very equal intervals, right? So I think, yeah, this is what I have to say. And over to you, Shonal.
So, ma'am, we conducted the poll where we asked the participants that do you want to make proactive efforts to bring change in people's behavior towards women's safety? And I'm sure that all our leaders present here must have impacted their mindset, as the maximum percent have been voting for. I'm already proactively promoting. They are enthusiastically, I mean, they are clear that, okay, we are also young change makers. And there are some that who have been inspired to say that, yes, we will. And some believe that I have too many responsibilities. Well, when you have time, you will sure try to do it as well. So I'll just share the poll. There it is.
I mean, I'm going to focus on the 67% who are proactively promoting women's safety and, changing people's behavior towards it. Right. So, and for the other, 33% here, I mean, for the 25%, they're already doing, and for the 8% who have too many responsibilities, believe me, that should be your first responsibility for, to ensure health and safety for women in your houses. Right. So you need to start seeing it like, if you don't do this, your sister, your mother, your wife, or your daughter is not going to get that platform that you may have in order to thrive properly in the kind of society that are actually not designed for them to thrive, right, in the first place. So yeah, I think so we have had an amazing discussion as to how Mukamar, how Masika, how Government of India are making these amazing strides towards ensuring women's health and safety in India, right? And I have had illuminating, I was telling this to Ishita yesterday, that I was totally mind blown about the stories that that she has shared with us about Mukammar's achievement in helping women becoming what do you say, enabling them to become safe by themselves, yeah, secure, safe, safeguarding themselves through various self-defense classes. And while at Masika we are doing the same thing for health, it says a lot when women are able to protect themselves in adverse situations, right? So for me, it has been a very good illuminating conversation. And thank you so much, Dr. Sethi and Ishita, for for that illumination, I would say. And Shonal, for the opportunity, for actually inviting me on this panel discussion.
So thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone present here. Since ma'am has already taken the questions, and our speakers and our wonderful attendees for their time and patience. It was indeed a very useful session for all of us. Defying odds have actually, as the topic of the session, we have actually defied odds. We spoke about stories, sir, ma'am, Shraddha ma'am, Ishita ma'am, everyone. I think the justice has been served to our topic here. And as we come to an end to our session, we are sure that sessions like these would help professionals and young change makers, to work on the post-COVID rebuilding. And so that is the end. And I hope to see some of our participants here next Friday on our 4th session of the Demystified Initiatives Leaders Summit. We will bring more leaders and demystify answers to some of the issues that the vulnerable communities are facing. Follow us on our social media pages for updates, and let's work together to move towards an inclusive future. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
so much,
Sonal. Thanks, Shraddha. Thanks, Ishita.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, ma'am. Bye, sir.